Hey guys, it's Mr. Fernie. I hope that you had a good weekend. Before we go on to the presentations that are left, we're going to do just a quick overview of the things that we've learned from the beginning of the class, just to keep everything kind of flowing like in a story form, so that we have all the different pieces of the puzzle as we build our marketing. And so in the beginning, the very first thing we talked about was what marketing is, and what we talked about was that marketing is not the same as selling. So some people think that they kind of go hand in hand, they're the same thing, but we really talked about how marketing is different than selling, because selling is when you're actually trading money for a product or service. And so what marketing is the thing that makes selling easy. And so, for instance, if you're in the market for shoes or a cell phone, then if I was a company that made shoes or cell phones, I would want to market my shoe or my cell phone so that it is at the forefront of your mind when you're thinking about shoes or cell phones. And my most important thing is that I want to make sure that you trust my product. That you trust my product is going to be a good product. It's going to make your life better. And so my marketing is going to involve a strategy that helps me communicate this to you very, very clearly. It just makes selling a whole lot easier. So we talked about some of the ways that companies communicate this to us. And one of the first things that we talked about was how they go after our natural senses and our emotions. The things that we see, the things that we hear, the things we feel, right? And one of the easiest things to start with is going to be what we see, right? What we see as soon as we step out of our door, or what we see when we're looking at a TV or a movie or a commercial. And so the very first thing that they target is usually going to be our sense of sight. And that's going to be mostly colors, the color palettes. And so when a company is choosing a color palette, they do so with a purpose, because they understand that color drives human behavior. Colors have different effects on humans, on our emotions, on our feelings. And so we talked about how this is the reason why a lot of industries that are similar will share similar color schemes. For example, the fast food industry or the snack industry, they're usually going to gravitate towards using colors like red, orange, yellow, and these are very vibrant and strong colors, especially red. And red drives the human appetite. We talked about that, and we talked about how maybe a bank or a vehicle manufacturer is going to use the color blue because it has this sense of reliability and so on. So we talked about how this is the first thing that they do, is they establish themselves with a color scheme that's going to help you associate their product, their service with what you want. Okay. After this, we briefly talked about surveys, which we're going to learn more about later. But very specifically, we had a practice survey, and we just quickly talked about how surveys basically help improve products and services. They help improve customer satisfaction as well, and they help improve the relationships that we have with the companies that we do business with. And so they're typically very useful for making things better. After this, we looked at some examples of marketing. The very first thing that we saw was Steve Jobs as he presented the iPod, and he explained why Apple went with this portable music player and how they believed that this was the easiest way to touch the most people on earth through music. We also looked at commercials. We looked at Nike and Coca-Cola and how they used the current events of their time in order to create campaigns that were very, very successful. So Nike used the words of an inmate who was about to be executed. He said, when the reporters asked him, are you ready? He said, let's do it. So the whole nation was talking about this, and Nike seized on this opportunity, and they changed the words a little bit. They put just do it, and it was very, very successful. Coca-Cola in 2010 saw what was happening in the world, which was social media. Instagram. Millennials were sharing photos of their lives with their friends online. And so they took this idea of sharing and they used it in a campaign, Share a Coke. And they put names on bottles and they encouraged people to buy the bottle for your friend, for your family member, take a picture, share it on social media. And this was a huge, huge success for them. We also looked at their competitors. So the Nike competitor that we looked at was Adidas. We looked at their specific messaging, which was also inspirational, but different. So they positioned themselves in a different kind of way than Nike did, but with similar messaging. We also looked at Pepsi and how they differentiated themselves in the early 80s. They wanted to be the new choice, right, for a new generation. So they saw that it was very difficult to compete with Coca-Cola because so many people drank it that they decided to, hey, let's market to a new generation, to a younger drinker, and it was very, very successful for them as well. During all of this, we got to present our own products. So we did some shoes, we did some cell phones, streaming services, backpacks, and that's still what we're doing right now. We're still finishing up our presentations. And so we're going to continue to do this, and then we're going to fine tune our products. We're going to pick a couple and then work on them a little more to kind of fine tune the presentation, and we're going to work together as a team. So let's finish up the presentations and then we'll continue on with the rest of the class. After the presentations are done, we're going to play a game called the $1 Million Doodle. And if you haven't played it, don't worry about it. It's very, very simple. I'll go ahead and walk you through the steps right now. We're going to start off with component cards, which have two little images on them. You're going to combine those images and create a logo. After this, you're going to begin to pass the cards around in a circle, and each person gets to add something new. So you created a logo. The next person is going to look at your logo and they're going to name the company. The next person is going to look at this information and they're going to write a slogan for this company. And then the last person is going to write an online review that's inspired by the original logo. Finally, you're going to get your company back and you're going to pitch it. And then we're all going to vote to say who was the best company and who deserves the $1 million investment. Okay, so as you guys are playing this, it is a fun game, but I want you to keep in mind that we are practicing communicating. We are practicing communication, right? We want to clearly market the product or service that we have. And so just keep that in mind as you guys are presenting and have fun with it. And I'll be back Thursday.